All right, so imagine this. It's the early 1800s. America's growing up, and so is its drinking culture. Those rough and tumble colonial taverns, well, they're fading out. Now it's all about high-class hotels and bars, where the drinks are just as important as the people you're rubbing elbows with. Welcome back to History in a Glass. I'm Josh, your guide on this tipsy time machine through history. Today we're diving into a legend known as the Napoleon of barkeepers, and the two drinks that helped shape American mixology, the Mint Julep and the Sherry Cobbler. This brings us to one of the most important places in early American mixology, the City Hotel in New York. Now, this wasn't just any hotel bar. This is where bartending turned into something more, where precision, style, and a bit of showmanship started to matter. And behind that bar was a man who took the craft to a whole new level. He wasn't just pouring drinks, he was shaping what we now call mixology. His name? Orasmus Willard. You might not know him, but trust me, you know his legacy. The guy was perfecting mint juleps and whiskey punches before most people even knew what a cocktail was. So if you're ready, let's grab some ice, get ready to crush some mint, and let's time travel back to 1835. So New York, early 1800s. The city is booming. Taverns, they're still a thing, but mostly for your average working man. But if you had money and wanted to be seen, you weren't hitting a tavern. You were going somewhere refined. Somewhere with chandeliers, polished bar tops, and a guy in a waistcoat behind the bar who knew his stuff. And that's where Orasmus Willard comes in. He wasn't just some guy behind the bar. He was a performer, a craftsman, the kind of bartender that people talked about. He was so good, people called him the Napoleon of barkeepers. That's right, this guy mixed drinks like he was conquering Europe. And the Mint Julep, that's where he left his mark. All right, let's talk bourbon. Today, it's the go-to for a Mint Julep, but historically, not so much. And we're gonna build this the way Willard might have done. Cognac and rum. Well, because this is history in a glass. So here's what we'll need for an early 1800s Mint Julep. Let's start with the important stuff, the booze. First, we're gonna need 3 ounces of cognac, and we'll also use an ounce of Jamaican rum. Can't have a Mint Julep without some fresh mint. In today's recipes, we typically see a lot more mint used, but in this recipe, we only need about 3 or 4 sprigs of fresh mint. We'll need 1 teaspoon of white sugar, 2 teaspoons of water, and we're gonna use some orange to garnish the drink afterwards. Oh, and also, let's not forget that we're gonna need lots of crushed ice. If you're following along at home, you can go ahead and make this right in the cup that you're gonna serve it in. I'm gonna make it in this clear glass just so we can kind of see what's going on with the first few steps. First, we're gonna add our 2 teaspoons of water and our teaspoon of sugar into this glass. Now, basically all I'm doing here is making a simple syrup. So if you have simple syrup at home, you can go ahead and use that instead. Got our water and our sugar. Now I'm just gonna mix the water and sugar together. So the legend goes that in 1817, a traveler from Virginia introduced Willard to this drink. This is where he saw the potential for the Mint Julep and decided to create a spectacle. Next, we'll take our 3 to 4 sprigs of mint leaves, and we're gonna add them right into the water and sugar. Now we want to muddle the mint and this sugar and water together. We're going to do this gently. We just want to extract the oils here. We're not trying to mash this into pesto. So in making the Mint Julep, Willard put on a show, perfectly muddling fresh mint and serving it with brandy and rum in a frosty silver cup. It was a drink that definitely turned heads, and we're going to try to live up to this legend. Next is to add our cognac, and for this recipe, once again, I'm going with Pierre Ferrand 1840 cognac because it's a historically accurate cognac style spirit. If you can't find it, go with a good VS or VSOP cognac that isn't overly sweet. So for this recipe, we need 3 ounces. So these early juleps were usually brandy based. Bourbon didn't dominate until after the Civil War. So now that we see what this actually looks like, we're gonna add this to our silver cup, and then we're gonna fill with ice. Next step is to add our crushed ice. We want to pile this ridiculously high. Right? We want this thing to look extravagant. Probably not high enough. Let's go a little higher. All right. I think now is a good time to prep our orange. Just need a slice here. Again, this is just for garnish. Let's find a good spot to add our oranges. I think that looks good. Next, we'll top this with a float of Jamaican rum. And for this rum, I'm using Smith & Cross. So this recipe calls for 1 ounce as a little float on top because, hey, a little extra depth never hurt anyone. That's already looking really good. And now we want to garnish this with mint. We want there to be a good amount coming out of the ice here. This mint wasn't just for flavor, it's also for aromatherapy. Every time you take a sip, the mint's gonna hit your nose first. Now, the last thing we need here that we don't typically see in today's recipes is a pinch of powdered sugar. Presentation mattered, and if your drink didn't look good, it wasn't worth serving. Clearly, Willard wasn't just mixing. Making this drink was a performance. Last step of this drink is our straw. And we want to put the straw pretty close to the mint. So every time we take a sip, so we get that aroma entering our nose first. And there we have our mint julep. A bit messy here, but overall, I think it'll do the job. Let's go ahead and give it a try. An early 1800s mint julep. Cheers. That's pretty refreshing. You get that mint first, both in your nose and in your mouth, and then the cognac hits and provides a little bit of warmth. And that Jamaican rum on top, yeah, this is the kind of drink that makes history. The mint julep was fancy, but the Sherry Cobbler, this was straight up revolutionary. Before this drink, most cocktails were either warm or room temperature. Ice was a luxury. Then came commercial iced harvesting and everything changed. For the first time, Americans had access to cold drinks year-round, and people lost their minds. And one cocktail in particular capitalized on that icy craze. And believe it or not, Willard had a hand in all of this too. He was a pioneer in mixing individual drinks to order using ice, as we just saw with the mint julep. But the Sherry Cobbler, he took that idea and ran with it, helping this drink spread across the country. You see, the Sherry Cobbler wasn't just popular. It became the drink of the 19th century. From high-end saloons to casual drinking houses, everyone was sipping on a Sherry Cobbler. This drink introduced crushed ice, straws, and a completely new way of drinking. Even Charles Dickens raved about it when he visited America. So let's take a look at what went into this 19th century crowd pleaser. The Sherry Cobbler gets its name from the type of wine that we're using, obviously a sherry wine. I went with the Amontillado sherry because I think that's the historically accurate choice. I'm using Tio Diego Amontillado from Valdespino. If you can't find this, Lustau Los Acros or Hidalgo Napoleon are excellent alternatives. And we'll need 3 ounces of that sherry. We're gonna use 1 ounce of simple syrup. Again, lots of crushed ice. We're gonna use the orange to both garnish and mix the drink, and we have some assorted berries for garnish as well. We're gonna use a shaker to mix up our ingredients first. We'll start off with 3 ounces of sherry. A little fun fact here, sherry was actually huge in America in the 1800s. Whole barrels of this stuff were shipped over from Spain. Next, let's add our 1 ounce of simple syrup. Add our slices of orange into the container, and then we're gonna use some ice. Now we wanna have a pretty decent sized chunk of ice in there. As we mix, that'll pulverize the orange and extract the juice out. We'll also add to this just some regular crushed ice. All right, so let's give this a mix. And when we mix this, we wanna mix it pretty strong. We really wanna make sure that that ice is pulverizing the orange and extracting the juices out. Now we'll prep our wine glass. We're gonna fill this glass to the brim with crushed ice. So ice like this used to be harvested from the frozen lakes of New England. It was then packed in sawdust and shipped around the country. Pretty crazy, right? Now we're ready to strain our Sherry Cobbler into our wine glass. And now it's time to garnish and make this look fancy. So we'll start off with some of our orange slices. And then we also need some berries. We'll use some blackberries and some raspberries and some blueberries because this drink is all about looking fancy. And the last piece here is our straw because this drink is the reason why straws became a thing. Oh, okay, the cobbler didn't invent the straw, but it definitely made it popular. Back then they used ryegrass or metal straws. Paper came later. All right, and here we have the Sherry Cobbler. Let's go ahead and give this a taste. Cheers. Well, this is incredibly crisp and layered, really. The citrus hits first. It's really kind of like bright and refreshing. And then it turns nutty, like almost caramelized. Now, I haven't had sherry before, but I believe that nutty taste comes from the sherry itself. Once that sherry settles in, it lingers. It's still lingering right now, but in a really, really good way. It's almost like a slow fade out to a great song. Like this must have felt like a revolution, especially after all the ale and rum-based colonial drinks we tried in the earlier episodes. It really is no wonder why this was the drink of the 19th century. All right, so there you have it. 2 drinks, 1 legendary bartender, and a moment in history where cocktails really started to become an art. The Mint Julep became a Southern icon. The Sherry Cobbler changed the way people drank. And Orasmus Willard, he was one of the first to turn bartending into something more than just pouring booze. If you want to drink like it's 1835, give one of these drinks a shot and let me know what you think. And if you've enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around because next time we're talking about a man who literally wrote the book on bartending. So here's the history. Messy, boozy, and full of surprises. Until next time, drink responsibly, or at least drink historically.